What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Early Wedge. It's the round 4 live chat for, I almost said, the Rocket Mortgage Classic, which we will cover to some degree in about 20 minutes. But of course, we're not talking about that. We're talking about the Travelers. And frankly, at the top of the board, gentlemen, it's a who's who of who I never like to bet. So, Patrick, I have to start with you. We got Fleetwood at the top. Got a couple of chasers in reasonable range. And since you are the CEO of the Russ bus, I got to ask you first, do the chasers have a chance, and are we limited to just 2 chasers here?
This is the chasing pack full of guys I love to bet, Sia. We got some Henley exposure. We got some Keegan Bradley exposure. I took a page out of Mike's book this week and had some JT exposure, and that was not fun yesterday. I think there's a legitimate chance for everyone, especially with how the tee times have kind of shaken out with now playing threesomes. You have Keegan Bradley in that final grouping with Russell Henley and Tommy Fleetwood. I think all 3 guys are going to be battling nerves. Think about Fleetwood playing for his first win, a win for Keegan Bradley. I believe that would put him 8th in the Ryder Cup standings too. That is on his mind. And then Russell Henley is always a little fidgety. So it should be a good one. I think it's really up in the air.
All right, we got Mike McClure with Patrick, of course, and Jason Sobel. You know what's interesting, by the way, Jason, before I get your take for that final grouping, because I do think we want to start the show talking about the top of the board. And I will say, for everybody that's already in the chat, if you have a play you like, whether it's, because none of the this is an unusual time of the show in the sense that normally we have like half the field at least out there. So if there's a matchup that you like with no matchups gone off yet, or finishing position, or any type of bet, whether it's an outright or otherwise, put it in the chat for us to consider. Jason, what's interesting here is that, we have things sort of like shaken up with the 3 balls instead of twosomes going out. And I will say that BetMGM has the odds from last night. In other words, they have the 2 balls still out there. Places like DK, they've adjusted to 3 balls, but you can still play 3-ball matchups. So just do with that what you will. But knowing that Fleetwood, Henley, and Bradley, Jason, are going out together, does that just a little walk down narrative street, does that benefit one golfer or the other?
If anything, maybe it benefits Keegan a little bit. He wasn't going to be in the final pairing, and now he at least gets to see the 2 guys in front of him, and see their scores, see what they're doing. But no, not really. I mean, these guys know what they need to do. They need to go out there and make a whole bunch of birdies at TPC River Highlands. If you are making pars, you're stuck in neutral, and you're probably moving backwards. And so, yeah, I would guess that if anything, Keegan. But no, this isn't really going to affect things as far as scoring is concerned.
Interesting, Mike McClure. We've got a stat up here that Josh has put up for us. A big shout out to Josh. Hit the like button, by the way, for him, if no one else. And it's talking about the stat addressing number of times either of these 3 players have been in a final grouping and what their scoring average is in rounds under par. It does seem to lend itself to perhaps a Russell Henley plus 400 take. I mean, we have I think at BetMGM maybe minus 175 for Tommy Fleetwood. And then we have Keegan and Russ both at plus 400 at most places. Do you have a take? Maybe you think, hey, there's just no value, I'm waiting on this. Do you have a take on putting a play on any of these 3 golfers?
It would be Henley if I had to play something that currently exists. Look, Russ has led the field tee to green this week. So I think that when you consider that and the fact that, Tommy Fleetwood is got that reputation of not, getting it done, getting it across that finish line. I hope he does for his sake in this particular spot, but it would not shock me at all if we're sitting on number 4 or 5 and we're now at a 1-shot lead. So if I had to bet anything, it would be Russell Henley here.
Yeah, we see the odds here. Jason Day far back at plus 1,600. It does feel like a 3-horse race. Scotty Scheffler way back behind that, but 5th on the board here. Patrick, let me ask you this, because what's interesting about Tommy Fleetwood, obviously all 3 of these guys have played really well, but Mike's right about Henley, like in terms of how he's gotten it done. This is perhaps the sustainable. I mean, all these guys are good ball strikers, so I'm not really worried about like a round that looks like a little quirky, but Fleetwood lost strokes on approach yesterday, barely, but he did a lot with the short game, and Russ has just been striking it so well. Is it Russ at plus 400 for you?
Yeah, it's Russ at 400. Bradley at 400. I'm not making any plays. I'm my cards are out there and hoping everything goes my way. But I think the one thing going for Fleetwood is how aggressive you're going to have to be in this final round. And for all the final round woes that he has had, this is the third 54-hole lead on the PGA Tour. It's not like he's been in this position a ton. I think the other two were 2017 US Open, and then when he lost at PGA National at the Honda Classic there, and both of those kind of different mindsets going into those final rounds. So the aggressive nature of how he is playing right now and what is going to be required could be enough for Fleetwood to get over the edge, in addition to the 3-stroke lead. But I'm with Mike. I love Russell today. I'm with myself. I love Keegan today. And hopefully one of those two guys come through.
That reminds me, can you remind us, because none of my outrights are anywhere close to contention. Can you remind me of what your outright card was? You have one of these guys, right?
It was JT, Russ, and Keegan.
Wow. So you have two of the three guys here. So basically, if Fleetwood wins, you're not super happy, but otherwise you might be in pretty good shape here.
Yes. We went down Burger Street again. Sobel.
For us.
Last time for us.
We're out.
Yep.
Burger Street closed.
Denny McCarthy, an interesting
drive-through
one.
is not open.
Jason, you had Denny McCarthy. I actually put him in my showdown lineup today. I mean, he was a great play. It seems like he was a great DFS play. Couldn't obviously close the door on actually winning this tournament. But one and done, by the way. Do any of you have Russ in the one and done? Patrick, is that you?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I'm gonna fall so hard in one and done.
And EC does too, because I'm boxing him out. Remember?
Yeah, of course. Jason with Denny. I'm gonna get crushed here. I'm gonna drop from 40th to like 150th, maybe worse. This is not great. Okay, well, let's look at some questions in the chat before we address maybe some plays that you three and myself like. There's some matchups that I want to talk to you all about, but looking at some of the questions, Brad Moore says DK props I like. Round 4, Victor Hovland over Taylor Pendrith at -140. Geez, that's pretty pricey. Pendrith under 4.5 birdies or better at -125. Let's stop right there. Are we in fade Pendrith mode? I'm trying to figure out why we would be. He did gain a ton with the short game yesterday, which perhaps isn't super sustainable, but he's playing a little bit better. Hand up. Does anybody like or dislike Pendrith here?
I have zero opinion on Taylor Pendrith.
Yeah. Looking at his tournament stats,
not a great course for him. I mean, I don't really see him as a great course fit, but I'm not like a full fade on him either.
I will say this, because I was just looking at round 3. Now I'm looking at the overall tournament stats. I mean, to Brad's point, he is, very clearly lost overall on approach and just ball striking in general. He's been okay off the tee, bad on approach, and picking up a lot with the short game. So it does seem like the profile to fade there. I don't know that I'd pay -140 for Victor Hovland over Taylor Pendrith. Do you guys agree? -140, a little pricey on that matchup? Mike, any thoughts there on Victor in general?
I'm not backing Taylor Pendrith at all with what I've seen. Look, incredible round yesterday. Equally as bad in round 2, right? So when you consider course conditions and things like that. So I think the inconsistency, as Jason mentioned, not really, a course that I would profile for Taylor Pendrith. So no, I would lean Hovland still in that. I don't love paying -140 when you're talking about 6 birdies on the card, but on the round. But yeah, if I had to play it, it would be the Hovland side.
Now, Taylor Pendrith at the Rocket Mortgage may be a different story. I want to throw that out there. By the way, do we know? I looked at the field, but Taylor Pendrith is playing next week, right? Does anybody know for sure? I didn't see. My eyes didn't run across his name.
You're asking us to pick a needle out of the haystack right now. Taylor Pendrith playing next week. He is not in the field.
That's interesting. Okay. Nope. I was wondering why I didn't have his name written down. And by the way, we're gonna touch on the Rocket Mortgage in about 10 minutes in terms of just giving a very quick preview in some place. I wrote down a bunch of names, so go ahead, Jason.
See, I just want to address these couple guys at the top here because I'm seeing stuff in the chat where Tommy Fleetwood has never won. I'm not betting Tommy. I'm betting people against Tommy because Tommy's never won. First of all, Tommy's won 7 times on the DP World Tour. Tommy's a world-class player. I get that he hasn't won on the PGA Tour, but if we're basing our selections, our bets on such and such has never happened, you're going to lose a whole lot of bets. Past performance is not an indicator of future success, as they say in the stock market. Same thing goes for golf betting. If you're going to sit there and say, well, so-and-so has never won this, won that, whether it's JJ Spawn at a U.S. Open or Tommy Fleetwood anywhere on the PGA Tour, you're probably not going to wind up that great. And Russell Henley, look, I know you guys like Russell Henley. Russell Henley to me is a chip away on 16 at Bay Hill from going like 2 inches left or 2 inches right, falling way off the green. He loses by 4. That's the only way he's gotten a win in the last few years. He's been close a ton of times. And he admitted afterwards that he had a couple of 3-footers on 17 and 18, and he was extremely nervous over them. Henley's a guy whose floor I love, but whose ceiling I just can't get behind. I am not going to have full confidence in a player who I'm not sure has full confidence in himself.
So
Patrick,
you're like contradicting yourself with the arguments, kind of. Not to go Brian Windhorst on you.
No, I get what I'm doing there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Patrick, he always cracks that smile when people don't give Russ the credit he thinks he deserves.
It is what it is, you know.
He gets the credit. He's really good, and he gets into contention. And like I said, at Bay Hill, one shot, found the bottom of the cup, hit the stick, and dropped in, and that's how he won the golf tournament. And other than that, he's the Southeastern Tommy Fleetwood. I mean, he doesn't win golf tournaments. If you're going to look at it, and again, I know that sounds like a contradiction, Patrick, but I just think Tommy's like, he's won before. And if you're going to bet based on what you've seen in the past, look, I've seen at least as much from Tommy as I have from Russell.
Well, the good news for Tommy, I think, is that he's at the top of the board here. Now, granted, nobody wants to bet the minus 175. I get that. But the good news is, you know, Henley and Keegan, let's give them some credit. I mean, I didn't give them any credit pre-tournament because I wasn't anywhere near these top 3 guys, I have to admit here. But it's not like it's Fleetwood with a 3-shot lead over Scheffler or Schauffele or somebody like that. Like if he was, I'm sure we've said this about Fleetwood before, but if he was going to close a tournament, no disrespect to Henley and Bradley, but they are the caliber of Fleetwood, if not less. And so I think with a 3-shot lead, this would be the time for Fleetwood to probably close. Let's get to a couple of other things from Brad and then some of your other questions. Morikawa under 4.5 birdies or better at plus 105. Morikawa over 67.5 rounds score minus 120. Mike, you're the king of round scores. Any thoughts on Morikawa here with respect to the birdies or the actual over 67.5 round score?
Let me check something on Morikawa. While I'm mentioning that, though, I see a question in the chat about 140 on Henley without Fleetwood. This is a rare moment where I truly believe it is a 3-horse race. I don't think Jason Day's coming back from 5 in this spot. I would play both of them. I would play Henley without Fleetwood at plus 140 and Keegan without Fleetwood at plus 140. I just play both of those and just are. But I think I mean, you're taking a bit of a risk, but I think the price points are appropriate there. And I certainly would play that if you thought you had an edge on Keegan versus Henley, who is a pairing and a matchup. I would certainly play the 140 there over laying the minus 110 or more on either side.
So just to be clear, we're basically, we know we're going to lose one of those bets, but we're locking in a profit so long as Jason Day doesn't creep into
Jason Day, anyone else. Yeah. I think it's between those 3 personally. Yeah. And since you're removing Tommy, you know, and if you get nervous and watch it, you're still going to have a great number to get out of it with Jason Day, because it's going to take, you know, probably a minus 8 round, I would guess, minus 7 from Jason Day and everybody else to. Yeah. So again, it's rare. It's not guaranteed profit. So don't think that it's guaranteed profit. It's far from that. There's still a level of risk. But I do think it is that 3-horse race.
Okay. Darren Mercurio says he has Victor Hovland top 5 at plus 1100. Now, where is Victor Hovland? Down the board a little bit, T14, but only 2 shots back of top 5. I assume, Darian, that's including ties. You might want to specify that just in case. Anybody have any thoughts on Victor having a good day and just basically passing the grouping that's in front of him?
A lot of guys ahead of him.
That's the thing. Like I can see Harris English having a nice day. Rory is up there. Brian Harman has surprised me, even though he's good here. Jason, did you have something there?
Yeah, big number. I don't mind chasing that number.
Yeah.
11-1's pretty good.
All right. Fred George, Jason Day under 68.5, minus 110, or Harman under 68.5 at minus 105. I'm still going to be out on Harman. Jason Day, interested. Does anybody have any thoughts on Jason Day having a good day under 68.5?
I kind of like
lean
the
there.
unders. Yeah, with the rain that came this morning.
Yeah.
softens it up a little bit more. It was getting a little bite back to it late afternoon yesterday, but with the rain, it should help with the scoring too.
Yeah,
Okay.
guys, I'm in Connecticut. I can give you a little bit of a weather report. Rain, like Patrick said, rained a little bit this morning. It's going to be hot later today. Should be good scoring conditions for these guys throughout the entire afternoon. No real breeze coming through at all right now. So looking out the window, heading over there as soon as we're done with the show here. So be over there at the course later today. But yeah, should be perfect score conditions once again.
Jason, were there any post-round interviews that you did that just kind of something rings in your head, like in terms of confidence or an adjustment a player made or anything like that?
I have not been there since Wednesday. I was doing interviews Tuesday, Wednesday, went and played the golf tournament the last 3 days and going back today.
All right. Good stuff. All right, we go to Jeff Stenberg. He says, I'm hopping on the Russ bus at plus 450. Yeah, I mean, I guess if we kind of liked him at plus 400, I think the plus 450 makes a little bit of sense. Scott Kobe, does Russell Henley shoot 68 or less? While we're considering that, I want to point out that one of the bets I was considering from a matchup standpoint was Russell Henley over Fleetwood at minus 120. It just a straight up matchup, which you can find really anywhere, including under 3-ball matchups at DK or at BetMGM. Anybody have any thoughts there? Obviously, like when we have a chaser like Russell Henley, it lends itself to him being maybe slightly more aggressive. And that's part of the reason I like this, although I do think he still might have a better day than Fleetwood, regardless of that narrative. Anybody like Henley over Henley to shoot low, but Henley over Fleetwood specifically?
I lean there. I mean, I think Henley's going to win this tournament still. So I lean there.
Russ bus captain, Patrick McDonald.
Give me all the unders. Honestly, 68.5. Everyone's shooting under 68.5 today.
Yeah.
Especially Russell Henley.
Especially Russell. Jason, your thoughts?
Yeah, look, for a floor play, I like Russell Henley under 68 just because, like Patrick said, should play easier. I just think that it's going to be tough to catch Tom. Tommy goes out and shoots 66. Tough to get him. Yeah,
that's for sure. A couple of other matchups I'm going to run by you guys, and then you guys can let me know if you have anything that you like. But Adam Scott, both Adam Scott and Matt Fitzpatrick had good days yesterday, but Adam Scott is minus 125 over Matt Fitzpatrick. I kind of like that. I kind of like taking Adam Scott later in that matchup. Patrick, any thoughts? Adam Scott over Fitz?
Yeah, it seems like he kind of got his legs underneath him after the first 2 days yesterday. Played great. Hasn't putted it well, but the iron play has been awesome. And yeah, I guess, I mean, minus 125, I don't love. The one matchup I was looking at was Rye even money over JT today. Kind of, yeah, a little heel turn on JT, unfortunately. But the way JT is driving the golf ball, I don't have a ton of faith in him. He's just been scrambling his butt off the first 2 days. And then yesterday kind of caught up to him on the back nine. So that's the one matchup I was looking at.
Mike, I know JT was a guy you liked kind of coming into this tournament, and he was great through 2 days, maybe like decent through 2.5 days, and then very much not decent. Your thoughts on Rye even money over JT or my Adam Scott minus 125 over Matt Fitzpatrick?
I don't hate the Rye play. I think that the question you have to ask, I mean, JT's far enough back that we know he's not winning this tournament. Mm-hmm. So that's always my concern in round 4. I still lean pretty hard on JT over Rye for the tournament. So for me, it would just simply be a stay away. And then what was the other one again, Sia? Sorry, I was looking at the data.
No, that's okay. The other one was Adam Scott minus 125 over Matt Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, I do still. I like both of those guys. I lean Scott at this point, but it's not certainly not a strong take for me.
Okay. Jason, any thoughts on either of those two matchups?
Not really those. I'm looking at a couple now on DraftKings. Ricky over Homa. Look, I get a chance to fade Homa, especially on a weekend round. I'm okay with that. And I think it's just minus 120 right now. And then I'm looking at Ryan Fox here, who looks like he might have hit a little bit of a wall. You can get either Akshay or Bud Cauley over Ryan Fox today, and you're paying the juice on it. But I kind of like both of those guys over Fox.
Interesting. Okay, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. Look, I don't love getting into situations laying minus 155 on some of these. You guys know that. I kind of like Rory top 10, including ties at minus 155. Just the rain, the conditions. I know that he's not going to go win the tournament. I know it's not particularly important to him. I think still just on raw talent and skill set alone, a top 10 again, including ties, minus 155. I would price that closer to minus 200 on Rory, where he is currently sitting. I mean, he's currently T8 right now, right? So like all things stay the same on this leaderboard. He's cashing this ticket. And from being T5 right now, he's one stroke off of T5. So I like Rory top 10, including ties, minus 155. Yes, it's juicy. I think it should be minus 200.
Mike, can I follow up on what Scott Kobe is mentioning in the chat? He says on DK, if you don't think Fleetwood wins, it's +1. No, I'm sorry. It's Taylor DeHart. Excuse me. He says you can also play top American. So this goes, I think he's talking about, what you said about the 2 +140s that you can play in the without Tommy market. He says you can also play top American Russ at +110 or Henley at +110. It's actually +115 for Keegan and Russ. Does that factor in at all to the +140 discussion you were talking about?
It does. I would have to really spend a lot more time than the 5 seconds here running the number on day to see. My guess is they're probably very close. Just comes down to, do you have any positions on Jason Day already or not? Day is the one you're worried about, right? I think Scotty is not coming back. Rory's right there. Harris English is there, but the difference in that being top American versus that winner without is literally Jason Day. So it comes down to what, where your number is on Jason Day. But I personally would play the 140s over the 110s here. And then if I need to bail myself out late, I can bail myself out late on Jason Day.
Okay. And Jason, did you have something? I wasn't sure if I interrupted you there.
No. I assume that meant Keegan in that
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I assume that meant Keegan as well. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. I think this is probably a good time to pause, and we're going to end up taking a break. And Mike, I know you've got HQ responsibilities, so we'll let you go during this break. We'll come back. We'll talk a little bit about the Rocket Mortgage with Jason Sobel and Patrick McDonald, maybe give out a couple of players that we're interested in. And then we're going to circle back to the tournament, kind of give out some final plays that we like. I think I've kind of settled in on a matchup that I'll reveal after the Rocket Mortgage part, and maybe some outright considerations. We'll do all that. Thank you, Mike, by the way, right after this message from our partners.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
All right, we're back on the Early Wedge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. I'm joined by Patrick McDonald and Jason Sobel. Gentlemen, we got the Rocket Mortgage coming up. So we got to talk about what is going to be a birdie fest, what is probably going to be a driver, distance heavy type of situation. Jason, I want to start with you. A lot of birdies, probably a lot of long hitters at play here in Detroit. What are your initial thoughts in terms of a golfer to look for this coming week?
I think this is one of the most predictive tournaments on the PGA Tour schedule every year. Basically, just look for the guys that absolutely smash it, make a ton of birdies. I am looking to avoid some guys who may not usually, I guess Finau usually plays in this one, but the guys who are the big names who are looking for something at this point in the year. Patrick Cantlay is playing this week, which surprises me a little bit, but he's clearly looking for something. Cameron Young, I think he's played here in the past as well. But I'm looking to avoid Young's a guy that I might be on, but I'm looking to avoid some of those big names. But I do think they're going to help us out. When the odds come out, a Cantlay should be at or near the top of the board. Finau is going to be somewhere up there, so could help give us some better odds than we normally would have at the Rocket on some of these players. And we can get to some names, but I've got a bunch of names written down already that I really like this coming week.
Yeah, I've got a bunch of names that I've written down too. I actually kind of like these Sunday shows because it allows me to like scatter shot just a bunch of names that I know I'm going to play in DFS and perhaps bet. I think, Patrick, correct me if I'm wrong, you may not know this, but Colin Morikawa was playing next week as well, right? That's another player that might kind of like drive those odds a little bit longer down to like those, when we're talking about the Cameron Youngs, who, by the way, I was on for the first time in forever this week. I'll probably go right back to him next week. I actually think it sets up much better next week than this week. Nonetheless, I was on him this week. Patrick, what type of golf are you looking for at the Rocket Mortgage?
Yeah, like you mentioned, it's a good field. You got Keegan, you got Morikawa, you got Matsuyama, Young, Cantlay, Finau's in the mix, Ricky's in the mix, Ben Griffin as well. So should be some good names at the top. The Hogarth twins, Max Homa. Max Homa's not there, but I might get involved, unfortunately, which is going to be a short stint for me. Maybe Rio Hisasune might get back there with him. But yeah, you look at the leaderboard last year and a lot of firepower with Cam Davis, twice a winner. Minwoo Lee was in the mix. He had a chance, bogeyed the last hole, if you remember. Cameron Young broke his driver on the back nine, if you remember that. Had to play with his 3-wood down the stretch.
He was one over that round. Otherwise, he had a terrible round 4. Otherwise, he would have won, right, Patrick?
Yeah,
if I remember correctly.
Plus one. Davis Thompson could have won. Akshay could have won. It was a fun tournament down the stretch, and then it was like, oh, Cam Davis just won. So yeah, I think firepower is always good. I think, you don't have to be long here. Like Eric Cole was in the mix. Aaron Rye was in the mix. It obviously always helps in some aspect, distance, but you don't necessarily need to be long. And with Donald Ross, you think about Rye winning at Sedgefield, another one of those courses. So maybe something there too with Donald Ross designs.
Interesting. All right, let's have some fun with some names. Because I don't think, like, again, when we do the DFS show and the betting show, we'll probably talk a little bit about a little bit more about the specificity of the course in terms of like approach ranges and the off the tee stuff versus total driving versus distance and all of that. But I think now is a time to just consider some names because we know odds are probably coming out tonight. At least most some outfits have odds coming out tonight. Others will defer to early tomorrow morning. Should we like round robin this thing where we just kind of like just give out some names? Like, let me start with, and I'm not even going to start from the top of the board. I'm just like from the names I wrote down, I'm just starting there. Chris Gotterup, Jason.
Love it. Right at the very top of my list. I love Gotterup this week. I will see your Gotterup and I will add to it with a Jake Knapp.
Ooh, love it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Patrick?
I like Kevin Yu this week.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. By the way, in the chat, if you're looking at the field or if you know maybe some names that are in the field, you put a name in there. And by the way, Joseph Boza doing my job for me. Par 72, about 7,400 yards is this course, Detroit Golf Club. I'll go to Cam Young. I'll just put it out there.
Yeah.
Jason.
Oh, let's go to. I've got a lot of names written down here. Max Grazerman.
That's what I was going to say instead of Cam Young. You took it from me. Dang it. Go ahead, Patrick.
Maybe Harry Hall I could get involved with.
I'm going to mention Harry Hall in a few minutes when we circle back to round 4 of the Travelers. But okay, let's do like 2 more rounds of this, and then we can, like, any names we left off, we can just mention. I love that you mentioned the Højgaards. Rasmus Højgaard. I think this is a really good spot for him.
Okay.
Thorbjorn Olesen.
Nice. I'm gonna go with Akshay. I think he has a great chance.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with, I don't know what his status is, and you guys can tell me if there's something I don't know with the injury that he was suffering from. But as far as I know, Michael Thorbjornson is still in the field. Didn't he have an injury or something that he was
for a month and a half? But yeah, he's in the field.
Okay. Well, I mean, let's hold the phone on him in terms of actually betting him. But that's a name that I'm very intrigued by if he's fully healthy. All right. One more name from each of you.
I will take Ben On, especially if Tommy Fleetwood wins today. It's going to be just everyone gets rid of the I can't do it labels.
I'm interested to see what Fitzpatrick's number is.
Interesting.
Matt Fitzpatrick. Yeah.
Do you think Matt Fitzpatrick is like kind of fully back at this point, or
no?
Okay. Fair
but
enough.
I think he's trending towards where he could compete in a field like this.
Yeah, that's fair. That was such a decisive no, but I like how you qualified it. By the way, the moment you said Benny On, Scott Kobe in the chat said my surprise would be Bennion. Literally the moment you
go.
said that. So there's some good fortune for him going into next week. All right, I'll just mention a few names that I wrote down that are not outright plays for me, but guys I would consider for DFS. And then if you guys have any leftover names to mention, we can do that. Antoine Rosner, Kevin Roy, Ricky Castillo, Isaiah Salinda, Luke Clanton, Alex Smalley. I'll just leave it at that. And Lee Hodges. Did I leave anybody out there, Jason?
Yep. Yeah, I have Castillo as well. Davis Thompson, Trey Mullinax, Jesper Svensson, Rico Hoey.
Nice. I like Hoey.
Jaeger's a little more high end, but and maybe a little Kurt Kitayama.
You gotta chuckle out of the high end part there. Kurt Kitayama. I like that too, actually, even though I don't usually play him. Patrick, what do you got? Any leftovers here?
A deep cut for you. Trevor Cohn. People are like,
wow.
Who's Trevor Cohn?
Played well
You'll
last
know
week.
after next week.
Played well last week.
Oh yeah.
I've got a deep cut for you, but he's more of a known than Trevor Cohn, and it's Nick Hardy. Like, I feel like if Nick Hardy was going to play well at a course, it would be here. If you're listening to the podcast, both the gentlemen I'm talking to were like, yeah, no, probably not on Nick Hardy. Deep cut DFS play only. I'm not putting any betting money on him. Any thoughts before we just close shop on this very, very quick preview that we do every Sunday? Patrick, any closing thoughts on like what to consider for the Rocket Mortgage or just anything to think about going into next week?
It's a good field. Be excited for it. Usually not great in Detroit, but seems like the guys are showing out before they make the trip overseas for links golf.
Patrick Fleming says, I'm ready to be hurt by Cam Young again next week. Jason, how about you? Any sort of closing thoughts as we enter into next week?
I'm very intrigued by this field. I have a feeling that maybe there's some money exchanging hands. We're not paying for sponsors exemptions or anything like that anymore. No appearance fees, but I just wonder how they're getting all these top name players in the field after they went US Open, Travelers, and really they want to go to Detroit for the week. So that gets my radar up a little bit. If they're going to go to Detroit for the week, there's a reason why they're going. The reason probably isn't because they're really excited to go to Detroit Golf Club and play great golf. Doesn't mean they can't or won't win, but I would think that the energy levels and motivation levels of a lot of the top players are going to be fairly low next week, which gives us some value in that mid-tier and lower tier.
Patrick, do you have any response to that in terms of, because I mean, that sounds very reasonable to me. Any response to some of those top tier players, maybe like looking ahead to going overseas, like you had mentioned earlier?
And I mean, it's going to be a lot of guys like fourth in their last fifth. Like it's a busy stretch. You go Memorial, then US Open, then Travelers, and then the Rocket, which like Jason said, the enthusiasm level might not be 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I totally agree. Coming off the Open, or US Open, and then the signature event this week. All right, well, that'll close shop for us just for our quick hitter preview on the Rocket Mortgage Classic. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Patrick. Of course, we've got our DFS show coming up tomorrow. That would be Monday at 7 o'clock. Our best bets, 7 o'clock on Tuesday. And then our 4 o'clock show, live chat on Wednesday, which is always really, really a great listen. Thanks for listening to the Rocket Mortgage portion of the show. We circle back to, I would say, normally I say to what's going on the course, but obviously rain delayed all of this. Maybe we could just summarize. If you all have questions, if you joined us late and you have questions in the chat, let us know what they are. But Jason, again, let's just kind of summarize where we're at from an outright perspective. Is there a bet you would make now, or would you just kind of like wait to see how the first portion of maybe the first handful of holes go and then reassess the situation?
I think it's Tommy. I can see Tommy getting off to a slow start, just a little bit of the nerves seeping through. And maybe if that 3-shot lead gets cut down to 1 after a few holes, Tommy's sort of in the even money minus 110 kind of range. I would hop on Tommy at that point. I do think he wins today.
By the way, Patrick, before you answer that question, breaking news that I haven't confirmed, but Joseph Boza is usually pretty on this stuff. He says, during the delay, Eric Cole withdrew and they were down to 69 players. I assume that's factual, but that's kind of a big deal. I mean, I have Eric Cole in some of my DFS lineups. So, I mean, not that they're doing that great anyway, but that's certainly going to hurt some. Yeah, he withdrew with an illness. Josh confirming that as well. So thank you for that insight. Very interesting stuff. Patrick, from an outright perspective, are you hanging tight? I mean, obviously you are because you have Keegan and Henley, but if you didn't have Keegan and Henley, would you be looking at a number here, or would you be saying, I'm just going to sit this one out?
I think the minus 175 on Tommy's pretty fair, and I think the plus 450 on Russell's pretty fair too. And so, yeah, I'm personally sitting tight. The math whizzes in the chat might tell me to hedge with a Fleetwood, but Patty don't do that. So we're just going to let it ride, and hopefully it falls our way. And if it doesn't, so be it.
It's also hard to hedge at a minus 175. It just doesn't feel right at all. Like if he comes back to the pack a little bit and you're getting like a plus 125, I'm just making up numbers right now. Like I think it's maybe a different story.
It's like a perfect hedge situation though, where
because you have the two.
It really is like a 3-horse race.
It really is. And by the way, don't forget about what Mike McClure said on the front end of the show in terms of in that without market, kind of trying to lock in a profit. Again, it's not a guarantee, but locking in a profit with taking Henley at plus 140 without Tommy and taking Keegan plus 140 without Tommy, knowing you're going to lose one of those bets, but you're getting plus 140. So you will lock in a profit as long as somebody like Jason Day or Brian Harmon doesn't absolutely crush one of those two guys. Here's some matchups. I want you guys to help me out here, because I've put out an official play every day. Yesterday, I had a push. I had Harry Hall over Ben On. He had a 4-shot lead with five holes to play. He gave it up, and they ended up pushing. I've bet on Harry Hall Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. One Thursday and Friday, by the way. Pushed on Saturday. So now what's so interesting is Harry Hall is the same number he was yesterday, minus 125, over the same person, Benny On, because they tied yesterday, so they're in the same group. Well, it's a 3-ball, but you know what I mean. So I can get Harry Hall minus 120, actually. I think maybe BetMGM has it at minus 120 or DK. I can't remember, over Benny On. I feel like I should do it just for the story that I bet him 4 days in a row, but I didn't win yesterday. It was a push. Like, would you push the issue here? No, Jason?
I've Patrick said about something earlier. He has zero opinion. Can I get less opinion than that?
Yes. Okay, fine. Okay. So good. I'm glad I got that out of the way, because there's two matchups. Because I do want to have a matchup here. And by the way, matchups are still available at BetMGM, and 3-ball matchups are available at DK. So even though it's a 3-ball setup, you can play the 3 balls if you want, but you can absolutely play matchups today, just so everybody knows. So here are the two I'm deciding between. You guys are going to help me choose one. Patrick, I'm going to start with you. It's Adam Scott minus 125 over Matt Fitzpatrick, or you have to choose one, or at least you have to tell me which one you like better. Or Russell Henley minus 120 over Tommy Fleetwood. Which of those two do you like the best?
I think I like the Henley one more, which I honestly don't like either of them. But if I had to pick, it would be the Henley one. All
right. Jason, which one do you like more?
Adam Scott.
I'm leaning to
don't love either.
Fair enough. Totally fair. I'm leaning towards Adam Scott over Fitz. But the thing about Adam Scott is I actually faded him on Friday against Cam Young. And so I hate fading a guy earlier. And I lost that, by the way, because Cam Young found the water on 17. But I hate fading a guy earlier in the week and then being on him later in the week. It just doesn't feel right to me. But all right, I'll tweet out the play I actually go with, because I'm actually still kind of debating here.
Glad we could help.
Yeah. Well, you kind of did help. You said you
wasn't going to listen up anyway.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. Well, let's talk about some closing thoughts here. I mean, what are we looking at, Patrick, down the stretch? It is a 3-horse race. I mean, we talked about some finishing positions from a betting standpoint earlier in the show. I don't know. This is a weird one, because it's very rare that we have what feels like 3, maybe 4 guys, and that's it. I mean, lately we just had last week, for example, so many guys were in the mix. Is this just a day where you kick back and watch golf?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great final round. Like I mentioned, I think all 3 guys are going to be battling something. Fleetwood, the first win, Bradley with the home crowd behind him, knowing a win would push him inside the top 10 in the Ryder Cup rankings, and then Russell Henley just being kind of nervous all the time. So I think it should be a really fun final round, and I think there's going to be a lot of ebbs and flows, hopefully, which will make it pretty entertaining.
Yeah. Jason, your thoughts here?
Interviewed Tommy Fleetwood on Wednesday. He is such a nice guy. He had 2 slices of pizza, and he offered one to me. I said, no, I've eaten 12 slices already. That's okay. He also talked about the fans at Bethpage and said, oh, they're great fans. I mean, he literally can't say a negative thing about another person, can't do anything that isn't positive. He's such a nice guy. I need a little less nice guy from Tommy Fleetwood today. I need a little killer instinct. I will be watching to see if that shows up, if a little Ryder Cup Tommy shows up at the Travelers Championship today. And I think he might need it. And I do think we see it. I do think we get Tommy Fleetwood's first PGA Tour victory, but he's got to have a little of that killer instinct that let's go out and take this thing, as opposed to, let's just go play golf and see what happens.
Do we agree that of the top three, and I'm not saying this guy has a quote killer instinct, but like of the top three, Captain Keegan is the one that has like that edge that's just going to go out and like grab a tournament?
Yeah.
Yes.
100%.
All right. I don't know. Maybe that's our play. Maybe we're just looking lovingly at Fleetwood and Henley, and we're just kind of forgetting about Keegan Bradley here. Go ahead, Jason.
Quick little thing on Keegan. Spoke with him a couple days ago. I didn't realize this, but he and his family have bought a place up in Massachusetts that they spend every summer at now. So you talk about Keegan being a local guy, and he knows the grass and he knows, the conditions and things like that. Once you move down to Florida and spend 15 years there, it doesn't really matter that much anymore. That said, since he's spending his summers up in New England and he's used to sort of playing in these kind of conditions, maybe a little bit more of an advantage for Keegan this week than even just a few years ago when he won.
All right. Very good stuff. Good note there on Keegan Bradley. I'm starting to feel like maybe that plus 400 that I liked on Henley, maybe it's Keegan Bradley. I don't know. I think I might wait. I might, from an outright perspective, just so everybody knows, I think I might watch how the first few holes unwind and then just kind of isolate a play, maybe even at a lesser number, like maybe a plus 400 turns into a plus 275, but I just like the position better. So I'm going to wait it out. I will tweet out a matchup that I like, probably one of those two, as I'm going to look at the board one more time. Thank you, Patrick McDonald. Thank you, Jason Sobel. Thank you, Josh Mullenix. Thank you, Mike McClure. A great show as usual. And of course, we'll see you tomorrow for the early wedge at 7 o'clock. And if you're on this channel, you probably know about the early edge every Monday through Friday at 10 o'clock in the morning. I'll see you there first. Thanks for joining the show today. We'll see you next time on the early wedge.